Welcome back to another episode of Seduce Me The Otome. So when we left off, we were playing as Michiru Anderson, and yeah, her grandfather Harold Anderson has been struck down by agents. He's dead. Her dad's being pissy because he didn't inherit the haunted mansion. So, well, presumably it's haunted. So there you go. Continuing onwards from there. Everyone knew my grandfather's love for toys, and yet the grave was a mere stone slab on the ground, devoid of any children's toys. My dad didn't even bother putting flowers. What a bastard, indeed. His disdain for my grandfather was almost pitiful. Sorry, Grandpa. I tried to force out some words, but the only thing that came out was a choked sob. Told me to stay strong, but right now I'm the farthest from it. Like that one time, a long time ago. Flashback time. Grandpa.
Oh, it's so good to see you again, sweetie.
Doesn't sound that old, but alright. I was swept into a giant bear hug, and we both laughed as he swung me around like an airplane. It was one of my favourite things about seeing my grandfather, the way he greeted me. Unlike my father, my grandfather was loving and playful, even as I grew older. Oh, there you go. Sorry that Daddy couldn't be here today. He said that he wasn't feeling too good again. I'll bet. It had always been like that. Dad missed every visit to Grandpa's house, citing that he was busy with work or wasn't feeling well.
Is that so? Well, that's okay. Daddy can come around next time.
Nah, he won't.
Here, right?
Apparently, yes. And apparently things were black and white back then as well. Anyway, yeah, so what are we doing today, Grandpa? Mommy says that there's a new dessert cafe open in town. Maybe we should go.
Oh, I would love to, but I've been so busy with the company these days. We're actually working on a little something. Would you like to see?
Ah, chemical weapons, I bet. Yes. Oh, is that a toy?
It is. I was designing
maybe
a
not.
new line of them.
It's got
But I
chemicals in
feel
it.
Something's missing. You don't think you could help me out, could you?
Of course. I placed the toy in my hands with a smile and I inspected it carefully. It was beautifully crafted. Obviously a lot of work was put into it. There was one thing though.
So, what do you think?
Actually, I wonder if we can actually get any choices. Now that'd be interesting, giving us choices in a flashback. I think the heart on its chest should light up when you hug it. It'll be like it's alive, and it can be like a little nightlight before you sleep. Yeah, because things that are living, they tend to have lights on them. Well, I suppose they do have bioluminescence, but that's mostly reserved for the deep ocean. So presumably the toy is maybe an anglerfish or something like that. But anyway, he stroked his chin, considering my input while nodding his head. After a few moments of silent deliberation, he turned to me with a chuckle. Oops.
That's a great idea. I'll get to changing it right away. You're always like my little lucky charm, dear. You always know what to add to make the perfect toy.
Aha! Ha! Well, I hope I can be like you one day, Grandpa.
You want to make toys as well?
Yeah, why not? Well, making people happy is the best feeling in the world. I don't know if I want to make toys when I grow up, though.
Don't worry too much about it. You have plenty of time to decide. Besides, you should do what makes you happy as well.
That makes sense. Daddy doesn't think of it in the same way, though.
Your father. I'm sure he just wants the best for you.
I'm not so sure about that.
Sweetie, look at me.
He bent down to look at me eye level, with a serious look on his face.
As much as your father may say something that doesn't make sense now, you must remember that he's always thinking about you. He loves you. There's no doubt about that. And you need to love him just as equally.
I don't hate Daddy, I really do love him. Don't know why he's like this, though.
Your father and I have had some difficulties with each other in the past. But it's nothing that you should be concerned about.
I'd heard tidbits of this from my mother and various other people. The only people who had stayed quiet were my father and grandfather. Both of them refrained from saying a word on the subject matter, but it was clear that whatever happened set up a wall between them. Oh, it's hard though, trying to pretend as if nothing were wrong.
However, no matter what, you have to stay strong. You're a big girl already, and, well, There'll come a day when it seems like it's you against the world. But always remember that your family and friends will be here with you. Daddy, Mommy, your friends at school, me. We'll stand together to get through it.
Interesting. What calamity is he talking about? How can you be so sure of that?
Because we'll be right here and here.
He pointed his finger to my head first, and then pointed at my chest.
So stay strong. Promise?
For a moment he looked almost sad, pleading, but as quickly as it had come, the expression disappeared from his face. He was all smiles once again. Promise. Upon hearing that, Grandpa let out a great burst of laughter and stood up.
Alright then, enough of that. How about I whip up some special homemade dessert? I know I can't accompany you at that new cafe, but we sure can talk and eat while I cook and do some paperwork.
Homemade dessert? I'll race you to the kitchen.
Hey, slow down there. I'm not what I used to be.
And there you have it. You willed me the very home. Wait a minute, you willed me? Okay. You willed me the very home I love to see you in. Why? Oh, that's right, that was in the wheel. Why would you think I would be ready to take it, especially after this? Well, why not? A surge of anger bubbled within me, but I quickly swallowed it. There was no use in getting mad, especially when the person in question was no longer there. I'm sorry, it's hard to stay calm when you've left me with so many questions, especially about what happens between you and Dad. Ha! What am I doing? Talking to a grave. My vision blurred, and I suddenly realized that I was crying. My face heated up as tears rolled down my cheeks. I'll bring you some flowers later. I miss you, Grandpa. They won't notice anyway. I'll try my best to fulfill my promise I gave to you, even if the world might be turned against me. I left the grave, wiping my tears hastily so my parents wouldn't see. Away we go.
It's time to head back home. I'll cook up your favorite lasagna when we get home, okay?
That should clear everything up. Thanks, Mum. However, my dad didn't speak the entire drive home. I wanted to talk to him, but after his moment at the funeral, I wasn't sure if that was a good idea.
It's about time we took off those dreary black clothes.
Oh, that Mr. Anderson. Gathering my courage, I decided then that it was the time to talk. Dad, could I ask you something?
Go ahead.
Why do you want me to move into the estate so soon?
I thought I made that rather clear. The college near your grandfather's house is well known for its business program. You are planning to major in business, yes? Right after you graduate from high school, you'll just live there and can easily commute to and from school. It's a perfect fit for you.
But what if we don't want to major in business? But it's so sudden. You just decided so quickly right after the funeral.
Don't be so sensitive. If you're like that in the real world, you'll be crushed.
Really? Alright then, I'm just saying that maybe we could talk a bit more about my future. In reply, my father rubbed his temples and sighed quietly.
After you graduate from college, you'll work at Anderson Family Toys. I have connections since I am part of the board of directors, so you will be guaranteed a spot. That is what we talked about before, yes?
Talk about nepotism. But what if?
Stop mumbling.
But what if I don't want to work there?
Don't be silly. It's the family company. Our company. I'm not just going to hand it over to some incompetent vice chairman.
Sounds a bit like that guy from the first Spider-Man movie, actually. You have any idea how much I sacrificed? Outstanding. And more of nothing. He came closer to me and his face softened.
Look, this is all for the best, okay? You may not know it right now, but you will appreciate it later.
For some reason, when I heard him say that, something snapped at me. I wasn't exactly sure what it was, but it made me feel so angry. Hulk smash. Do you even care that grandfather passed away?
Of course I do.
Well, everything seems fine and dandy to you. Like sour candy. Things couldn't be better.
Excuse me? I don't like your tone, young lady.
It's like nothing even happened at all. Like you just ignored the fact that he's no longer here.
Do not raise your voice at me.
What did he ever do to you to deserve this? My father, his face hardened, crossed his arms, and erupted in angry laughter.
Ha! You sure place him upon a pedestal, like he's some kind of venerated god or something. It makes me sick.
Oh god, that voice acting. Oh dear. This game's just going to be one big old unintentional laugh, right? I'm assuming they're not intending for that to sound so comedically over the top. Well, I hope so anyway. Alright, is that it? Are you happy seeing your grandfather dead? While everyone was grieving, were you holding yourself back from laughing in everyone's faces? Sorry, I'm just remembering with those ridiculous animations. Anyway, did you feel just a bit happier seeing him lie in the graveyard? A flash of rage crossed his face, and he whipped the back of his hand across my cheek.
You don't know anything! Running your mouth like somehow you know everything that went on, when you're just a little girl that doesn't know how to keep her mouth shut! You did not know my father! You did not know what he was capable of!
Aha. It was chemical weapons, wasn't it? Nothing.
Is everything alright? What happened?
Nothing. I'm not hungry. I think I'll just go upstairs.
Honey, wait!
So clearly something did happen. Really, how much more of this can she be? Anyway, I quickly turned and ran up the stairs to my room, slamming the door behind me. My breath came in short pants, and for a while I just leaned against the door to my bedroom, eventually sliding down to sit against it. How did things become like this? My cheeks still throbbed, and I tentatively stood up and looked at the mirror to see how it looked. Hopefully it doesn't bruise. Ha, what am I saying? No, she looks right in the bottom left there. Tears formed in the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them back rapidly. I couldn't cry for the second time today. I had to be stronger than that.
Are you alright? Your father told me nothing happened, but you know your father.
I'm fine, I just lost my appetite.
The lasagna's done, though. And I don't want you skipping any meals. Are you sure?
Precisely, let's just go bulimic, why not? Yeah, don't worry about me, Mum, I'll come downstairs later to eat. You're not telling me... Oh, indeed. I just don't want to eat right now.
Please, dear. Tell me what's going on. I wish you would tell me why you're being like this.
I wanted to tell her. Part of me was screaming to tell her what Dad had done. At the same time, I knew she couldn't fix anything. Besides, I was moving out regardless. So that resolves that, I guess. Anyway, I remained silent, letting the event remain in the past.
Well, I'll leave your food on the table if you want to eat it later.
Finally, my mum left me alone. It was strange to think that she was only a few inches away from me, only separated by a single wooden door. I really didn't know what to do. I needed to do something, anything, to get my mind off what just happened. Yeah, I suppose the obvious thing is just to move out and do your own thing then, isn't it? Anyway, anything would be better than thinking any more about the pain still radiating from my cheek. I was going to move into my grandfather's house tomorrow. Okay. I should probably pack my stuff so I'd be prepared for tomorrow. Jesus, that is sudden. Well, why not? I mean, God knows staying there doesn't seem to be doing her any favours. Yeah, that was a good idea. I should start packing. I opened the closet, rummaging around for a while before I finally found 2 large bags. Pulling them out onto the floor of my room, I then began to empty my drawers and cabinets so that I could bring all my things with me. I didn't have much to bring other than just clothes and some toiletries. It was kind of bizarre that I didn't have many personal belongings. Yeah, that is kind of bizarre actually. But anyway, it wasn't like my luggage was completely devoid of them, but I certainly didn't have many things in my room that I would miss if I just suddenly left the house. I shook my head to rid myself of those thoughts. If it were going to be my new home, it would have to feel like it. One way or another, I was going to make it a home. Really. Just as I was packing my things, my cell phone... That's going to get my video content ID'd. Anyway, just as I was packing my things, my cell phone began ringing and vibrating in my pocket. slid my phone out of my pocket and answered it while slowly easing myself onto my bed. Who could possibly be calling?
Hey Anderson, you there?
Don't think my icon looks quite like that on my phone, but there you go.
Is everything alright? We were worried about you, so we decided to call. Hello?
I'm really glad you guys called. The voice managed to come out, though it was only a whisper.
What happened? Are you okay?
Yeah, just fine. Well, I slowly began to tell them about the funeral that afternoon. A small silence followed when I was done recounting what happened, and to my relief, Naomi finally spoke up.
I can't begin to imagine how you must be feeling right now. I'm so sorry. Do you want us to come over right now?
No, it's okay. Too bad we don't get to choose. Anyway, my dad isn't in a good mood, so could we just keep talking on the phone like this?
Of course! We'd stay on the phone until the crack of dawn, right, Suzu? Yeah. We're always here if you need us. After all, we wouldn't be the awesome triple threat trio without you, right?
I think Three Musketeers sounds better. Aha, yeah.
Triple threat trio? That sounds like the name of a gang. Yeah, I mean, we're all taking on the world together. We've got to sound somewhat scary, or else no one's going to take us seriously.
Yeah, they're super serious now, aren't they?
What's with you and naming things? You've got to step up your game, Naomi. Falling behind to the cool kids like Anderson and me. Tisk, tisk. Hey! I'm a cool kid! If anything, I'd say you'd have to step up your game.
We chatted cheerfully about all sorts of things. Very soon I'd forgotten about the events that day and was engaged in a conversation about Naomi's favourite TV show, some program called Hairlock. Really. We all agreed that the actor playing the titular character certainly had a very distinctive look about him, with that long overcoat and scarf wrapped around his neck. We had many disagreements about who we thought was the coolest character. Yeah, he has really high cheekbones, and his eyes are pretty, though I do have to say I prefer Judson. And as a bonus, his actor is just so sassy. I looked at the clock hanging on the wall and realised how late it was. Whoa, it's already 1 a.m. Sorry for keeping you guys up so late. I think I'm going to hit the hay for tonight. See you guys at school tomorrow. Or I should probably shower and go to bed. I can't believe I stayed up this late just to talk to my friends. Well, why not? What else are you going to be doing? I mean, studying? Come on. Anyway, but it was really nice. Well, to the bathroom I go. I took a relaxing shower. Nothing beat hot water and the feeling of being clean. After drying myself, I promptly dressed in my pajamas and crawled into bed. Oh, that's meant to be a nice hot shower after a long day. I'm so glad to finally be in bed. It had been a really long day. I knew that I was wishing for something to change back in class, but I certainly wasn't expecting any of the things that happened today. I have to go back to school tomorrow. Ugh. Like totally. I curled up on my side and tightly wrapped the blankets around me. I really wasn't in the mood to be returning to school, but my dad probably would make me go just for the sake of it. It's time to go to sleep. Yes. I reached out to the lamp on my nightstand to turn off the lights. After small narration, of course. However, my mind was so lost in the passing of my grandfather and the thought of inheriting something so big that it haunted my mind the entire night until the next morning. I shook my head to try to clear the sleepiness out of me to no avail. I really didn't get any sleep last night. It's already time to wake up. Wait, to school. As soon as I realised I had to go to school, I slid out of the bed and looked at the vanity mirror. That's a relief. Luckily there was barely a bruise on my cheek. You had to squint to actually see it, like George Costanza. I doubted anyone would actually notice it unless they leaned in really close. Breathing out a sigh, I got dressed, took my backpack and caught the bus to go to school. That's that abuse out of the way, eh? Anyway, it wasn't even hours before everyone heard of the news. I was approached in school and given condolences for my loss. However, that wasn't what shocked my friends.
Wait, so you have the whole Anderson house to yourself? Lucky as hell, man! Quit being so sensitive, Naomi. Quit being so vulgar, Suzu.
No, we get to side again. And let's see, Naomi. No, we're just going to side with Susan the entire time. Why not? Actually, Naomi. No, actually, no, Susan. Sorry, no. Yeah.
Of course you would side with her. Ha! See? At least she knows how to have fun. I know how to have fun. You don't need to be wild to have fun.
Guys, I'm going there after school today because my parents want me to get used to living there.
Seriously? It hasn't even been a day since you came back to school.
I know, but my parents want me to try living there as soon as possible. Literally.
Still, that's really fast. Are you going to be okay?
Of course. That's even in the comfort of my best friends. Life seemed to keep testing me. I'd have a housewarming party, for God's sake. Anyway, oof.
Hey! Don't go around shoving people like that.
Whoops. Did I strike a nerve, Capini?
Wait, that's Lizette? Alright. Alright then. It's a massive chin she's got there. But anyway, she let out a small laugh as she twirled her hair around her finger. Lizette, one of the last people I wanted to see today.
It's not me you should be apologizing to.
Oh, Anderson. Hey, how's it going?
I'm alright.
Haven't you already heard, Lizette?
Of what?
Her grandfather's passing.
Well, I'm sorry about that. I don't really watch a lot of news.
It doesn't really sound like you mean it.
I do mean it. Earnestly. Why wouldn't I?
Typical Capini. Isn't her family involved with the mafia or something? I wouldn't be surprised if she brought out a bat from behind her back right this moment.
Capini? Anyway, I had nearly forgotten the crowd that followed Lizette, which was mostly comprised of people that no one wanted to see on a typical school day. No one had the slightest idea why exactly they followed Lizette around persistently, but they labelled themselves as social equals of her.
That is out of line. Suzu comes from an
right,
honest
she's
family.
Capini.
Says the one whose family profits from political scandals.
Yeah, your dad doesn't make anything unless he's in the court with dirty politicians.
Hey, let's all calm down for a second, alright? I'm sure Anderson needs some time to recuperate. I mean, what just happened? We need to give her some respect.
Just stop, for God's sake. Stop acting like that already. Like you feel sorry for me.
Huh? What are you talking about?
I'm sure you're happy seeing me like this. You already have everything you've wanted. Now seeing me like this, life couldn't get any better. Bitterness seeped into me and words started flying out of my mouth without filter. But honestly, I didn't care. I was so consumed by anger that I only saw Lizette in front of me. What exactly am I to you? Just another part of your obstacle course? Is that what I am? I'm sick of it, Lizette. I'm sick of all these charades. I'm sick of you. Gasps rose from the crowd around her. I was brought back to the school hallway. Even my friends beside me looked at me in surprise. One girl looked like she was going to speak up, but Lizette held her hand up to stop her. There was an emotion in her face that I couldn't quite make out, but I could see a form of pity in her eyes. Oh, don't you dare pity me. I looked away from her. I didn't want to see that emotion in her eyes when she was talking to me. She didn't have the right to look at me that way.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yes.
I know your grandfather passing away must have really taken a toll on your emotions.
Oh. She stepped towards me and put her hand on my shoulder, giving me a tiny smile, as if for all time's sake. Well, if that's not genuine, eh? God. Anyway, but for some reason I didn't feel confident at all. Not that I was just angry at her, but the expression on her face when she leaned in close to me contorted into something complex. Something was different about her. I couldn't quite place my finger on it, but something about her had definitely changed. Well, she's still freaking smiling, if one thing.
Well, I'll be going for now. Track meet responsibilities and all of that stuff. See you later.
What a bitch. Anyway, something about Lizette made me feel uncomfortable. I wasn't just angry, but also uneasy. What was it? I'd never seen her like that before. But I decided to pay no further attention to it. She continued running down the hallway with her gaggle of friends behind her. I refocused my attention to Mrs. Phillips, who was walking down the hall towards me.
Is everything all right, girls?
Nothing we couldn't handle, Mrs. P. Just a bunch of snobs.
God. Indeed.
Suzu, hush!
God,
It
that
was
voice
nothing,
acting.
Mrs. Phillips.
I see. Well, Miss Anderson, please accept my condolences for your loss.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips.
Your grandfather was a good man. He really upheld the philanthropy of his company's policies, and the money that went towards charity, too.
I know, he was amazing. I really looked up to him, and I want to be as good as he was.
Well, I know that you'll be as great as your grandfather. Hell yeah, she will. She'll be 10 times better than her grandfather.
Would I really be better than my grandfather? Everyone seemed to have high expectations for me. Great expectations, even. I wanted to do my best and make my family proud, but to be better than my grandfather. I wasn't sure about that. From outside the school window, I saw a familiar blue car pull up to the curb. Undoubtedly, it was my father in the driver's seat. Oh, my ride's here. Well, I guess I'll see you both tomorrow.
Want us to come with you?
Yes. Oh, for God's sake. Oh no, it's okay. I'll be fine. See you. Really. Hey, Dad.
Hey, honey.
As I got into the car, I noticed my father looked troubled, clutching at his steering wheel and staring straight ahead, as if something was really bothering him.
About what happened yesterday. I'm sorry for yelling at you. Does your cheek still hurt?
No, it's nothing to worry about.
I mean it. I shouldn't have laid a finger on you. You know that you're my most precious daughter. You're all that I have.
Yet he couldn't bring himself to say what he could never say to me for such a long time. Always wanted to hear those words to affirm how he really felt, but I guess even now he couldn't say it to me. I turned my head away to look out the window. There was no point in waiting for something that was never going to come. And like that, he started to drive, and the conversation between us ended. I decided to focus my attention on the passing scenery, which was remarkably static. We were taking the usual route to grandfather's house. It was located within the vicinity of the school district, but it was still pretty far from the school and from where our house was. He had always lived alone. He insisted on doing things by himself, even at his age, living in such a large house. Well, why not, eh? I wondered, did he pass away with no one at his side as well? It sounded so lonely and sad. It was strange that he decided on living all alone in his large estate. If anything, he could have lived with us. Or he could have lived in a smaller place, actually. But anyway, though he and my father probably would have given each other the silent treatment the entire time, maybe living alone was preferable to that. I actually hadn't visited him for quite a while. Visits to his house were most frequent when I was a child, and I had grown up long since then. Last time I visited, though, I thought he looked just as he usually was, happy and healthy. Those damn agents. Anyway, but things change. In the back of my mind, I knew that he would have to leave one day. It wasn't like humans could live forever. So why did my heart still feel so heavy? The car ride was mostly spent in silence until he spoke up again.
How was school? Maintaining your grades, I hope.
Yeah, I've been trying my best. As of so far.
Trying? That's not really doing the best you can, is it?
Oh, for God's sake, Pops. With my father, only some words I said were filtered through his ears. It was difficult to keep up a conversation without eventually talking about academics or my future, even if it was something loosely based on it. He always found a way to integrate it whenever we talked.
Anyway, your belongings are in the trunk. There isn't a lot, so I'm sure you can manage bringing them inside the house. After all, you are on the road to being independent now.
No pressure. Yes, I can manage on my own. Usual silence resumed between us. I really wasn't sure what to say around him, especially when most of the time we didn't share the same opinions. One question did linger in my mind, though. If he was going to justify acting so nonchalant at grandfather's funeral, I had the right to at least know why. Yeah, actually, if I could try again. Say, Dad, about you and Grandpa.
We are not talking about this.
I feel like we should be, because Grandpa did leave us yesterday, so...
I wouldn't care if he had left even long before that. I do not want to hear it, and that is the end of this conversation.
As always, he managed to shut down any other form of conversation related to him. It was just like what happened last night. I opened my mouth slightly, but I closed it again. It was like talking to a brick wall. It wasn't like I could find out anything by somehow arguing my way through it. Alright then. I leaned against the car door and stared out the window. I really couldn't think, what would this place be like? I'd been to my grandfather's house before, but it was one thing visiting, it was another thing actually living there. How would I manage living on my own without any training to really care for a house? I knew that naturally the bills would be paid by my parents, who inherited grandfather's stocks to the corporation, but I'd never lived independently before. Thinking about it made me feel like some kind of bird being pushed out of the nest. Though I was technically an adult, I felt unprepared and a bit daunted at the prospect of actually moving into a new place. And that's right, I think she's meant to be 18 at this point. Yeah, last year of high school and all that. Well, I moved relatively quickly after that myself. Yes, anyway. It did feel rather soon when it happened, but there you go. It's always daunting the first time you move. Actually, it's daunting pretty much every time, really, but the most daunting when you first move. But anyway, most people my age would be ecstatic moving. Most people my age would be ecstatic moving out. After all, it would symbolize some kind of change in their lives, like being on the road to independence. But I felt like it was nothing of the sort. I really hoped I wouldn't let my parents down. I wouldn't want to let grandfather down. What would he be saying right now? Chin up, lad. That's what he'd be saying. I gazed up at the passing clouds in the sky. If you're out there, grandfather, how would you be doing? Would there be anything you'd want to tell me at this moment? Use the force. And of course, no answer. What was I doing? Searching for an answer in a heaven that would or would not exist. I ducked my head to stare at the blur of trees and cars from the car window. My head was definitely going into the clouds there at the moment. I can say that again. Either way, I found myself being driven off to my new home. Car rolled to a stop, and I drifted out of my thoughts.
Here we are. Go on in.
Alright, tell Mum I love her.
All right.
I love you, Dad. No, make sure to come by and visit us often. No, I'm going to miss you lots. Nothing other than a blank stare. I paused a bit before reaching for the car door handle, waiting for any form of goodbye, but he didn't speak again. I sighed and exited the car, hearing my dad pop open the trunk. I saw the 2 large bags I packed last night that were large enough to carry only the things I needed. I took them out, placed one bag on each shoulder, and closed the trunk. He then drove off, leaving me alone in front of the mansion. I watched the blue car fade into the distance of the road before turning to see my new home. There it is. It's huge. My grandfather gave me this. It's hard to believe. Actually, given the size of it, if the location's any good, could probably just sell that, actually. Retire on, perhaps, combination of stocks, tiny bit of much smaller real estate, perhaps to rent out. Get a small place of your own. Yeah, it could probably work. But there you go. The house was framed by a set of tall gates, and I hesitantly pushed them aside to take in the entire estate. Let me just check the audio. Seems to be pretty quiet. Let's see. So screen, full screen, on, scene, stop. Yep, alright. Okay, and yeah, the background music should be there. Well, I suppose. Actually, try adjusting it. Nah, I can't really hear anything anyway. Huh. Alright, well, I guess that's that. I guess it's meant to be silent. The house was framed by a set of tall gates, and I hesitantly pushed them aside to take in the entire estate. The house still looked like it was when I last visited him. At a glance, it seemed kind of intimidating with its size, though if I came closer, it was clear that there was more to it than that. The brick walls were framed by shrubbery and lovely flowers, giving it a homey and welcoming look. Oh my god, the maintenance on that though. Anyway, but in contrast, the tall doors into the house gave me a feeling of grandeur. Illusions of grandeur, perhaps. Who knew what was waiting for me? But I wouldn't back down at this moment. I took out the key to the front doors and unlocked them. Well, might as well make myself at home. I'll be staying here for quite a while anyways. That's when I saw them. Lying on the floor was a group of men. They all were unconscious, but there was no explanation as to why they were there in the first place. I dropped my bag. Maybe they were robbers taking a break. Anyway, I dropped my bags as I let the door close on its own behind me. Huh? Who the heck are these guys? Why are they here? What's going on? Some of them had open wounds. The blood was staining the floor, and the scent was intermingling with the air. Couldn't help but feel bad for them instinctively, but nevertheless I was shocked and a bit angry at the sudden intrusion. My mind suddenly went from caring and concerned to confused and demanding answers. Who are you guys? No response. I'll call the police. Still nothing. None of them seemed to be awake to answer or respond to me. It seemed surreal to have random strangers in the house I just moved into, but I wanted answers quickly. That was until... Eep, get away from me.
Woman, you're going to let me kiss you.
No. I couldn't believe it myself, but within a mere blink of an eye, one of the men went from lying on the floor to being right in front of my face. What was even more odd was the fact that I felt serene and calm about it. Slowly a desire burned from my chest, telling me to accept his kiss, even when my mind vehemently refused. Go ahead.
Good.
Just like that, eh? And as he kissed me, I could feel my body go weak. I didn't know why, but that kiss was draining me of my energy, and yet it was so good and made my heart sink. It must be an incubus, I guess. It was a strange and tingling feeling that danced over every nerve on my body. I could feel streams of intangible energy run up my body and into my lips. It felt odd, but at the same time, it felt amazing.
Sam, stop it.
Hmm?
The person kissing me, Sam was his name, glanced behind him.
I said stop. Now.
Fine.
Finally, he pulled back, and I was left standing there in a daze. What? I couldn't tell what was going on. My mind was completely enwrapped. Enwrapped? Interesting. By the kiss in my thoughts that melted into the depths of my forgotten memories.
Please forgive my brother. He's a bit reckless.
At least I feel a hell of a lot better than you right now.
Because you used your abilities on her.
Sam, you're such a reckless brute. Taking advantage of a beautiful young woman like her.
Shut that pretty boy mouth of yours before I rip it off your pretty boy face.
Not that pretty.
Sheesh, you guys. Can we not fight right now? Not all of us are in the best state.
I guess you are right, Matthew.
I agree.
And how many more can they stuff into the frame, I wonder? Oh, there we go. Anyway, however, as the men got up and started to chat freely, my thoughts began to reassemble, and I remembered my confusion and anger once again, only now multiplied tenfold. What?
Huh? Did you say something beautiful?
And I exploded. What is going on? Why the hell are you all here in my house? Why are you all wounded? Why did you kiss me? Who are you guys? I couldn't help exploding, but after being taken advantage of and being left in a mush state, my words escaped without filter. Doesn't seem to have much of a filter in general, actually. I definitely scared the men around me, even the man who kissed me. Wait a second, the guy who kissed me.
Ouch! What's your problem?
What's your problem? You can't just go around forcing people to kiss you like that. You some kind of pervert.
Pervert? It was only a kiss.
Only, eh? Might mean nothing to you, but it means a lot to me.
What? Was it your first kiss? Ow! Hey, what was that for?
I know first kisses aren't exactly amazing and full of sparkles and something out of a fairy tale, but at least expected it to be more than just something forced.
So it was your first kiss. Stop making such a big deal out of it.
You asking to get punched again?
Well, what do you want me to do? It's not like I can somehow take it back.
Really? I think we'll just hit him again, actually.
How? You're just being violent now!
Indeed. You deserved it. Anyway, if you try to pull any funny business in the future, just a fair warning, I know Taekwondo. I'm sure that'll be effective against whatever demon he is. Anyway, I think I've bickered enough. Time to get back to the main issue. So, what exactly are all you doing in my house?
Miss, please forgive us in our intrusion. We didn't know this abode belonged to anyone, nor did we have the time to take that into consideration.
What? What do you mean? You don't just barge into people's homes?
We wouldn't have
Unless you
had
feel
to
the
if we
banks?
weren't as wounded as we are currently. We just escaped from a deadly fight that could have ended our lives. Luckily for us, your home was near and the windows were unlocked, so we quickly came inside.
Last time I remembered, there were laws preventing strangers from stepping on private property, although considering the severity of their wounds, it had to be serious. I guess that explains the wounds, but not why he kissed me. He had